Welcome back to Fiction First. Today, we're reviewing Nightwatching by Tracy Sierra, a chilling, emotionally rich psychological thriller published in 2024. More than just a home invasion story, Nightwatching explores how trauma, grief, and societal dismissal of women's fears intertwine in one woman's desperate fight to protect her children. Set within the eerie confines of a centuries-old home, Sierra masterfully constructs a story that keeps you guessing until the final page. About the author. Tracy Sierra, a Colorado native, currently lives in New England in a 300-year-old colonial home with her husband, 2 children, and a flock of chickens. When not writing, she works as an attorney. Her legal background, particularly her work with survivors of domestic abuse, lends deep emotional authenticity to her debut novel. Sierra began writing after the birth of her second child and is already working on her second book, a survival thriller. With Nightwatching, she establishes herself as a rising voice in psychological suspense. Plot summary. The unnamed protagonist is a mother living with her 2 children in a rambling, antiquated house she once shared with her late husband and his terminally ill mother. Her house, with its confusing renovations and secret rooms, becomes both sanctuary and trap. After her husband's sudden death and a deteriorating relationship with her father-in-law, who accuses her of foul play, she begins noticing unexplainable disturbances. Her children claim to see a man watching them from the woods. She begins experiencing sleep paralysis, always seeing a shadowy man in the corner. Then one night, the nightmare becomes real. A man, not her husband, enters the house. With her children, she hides in a concealed space behind the beehive oven. As the intruder prowls the home, singing twisted lullabies and echoing her past, she realizes he's not a stranger after all. Her daughter calls him the corner man, the same figure she's seen in her room at night. Desperate to save her children, the protagonist flees into the freezing night for help, eventually collapsing at a neighbor's house. But when the police arrive, they find no intruder. Her credibility unravels. There are inconsistencies in her story, unexplained alcohol in her system, and a history of trauma. Her children are placed with their grandfather while authorities investigate. Determined to reclaim her truth and her children, the protagonist arms herself, installs cameras, and combs through the footage, eventually discovering the intruder has been stalking her home for months. When the police return, the intruder emerges again, killing the sergeant before being shot and paralyzed by the protagonist. With the evidence now undeniable, she is vindicated. She is reunited with her children and chooses to stay in the home, which she believes ultimately protected them. Themes and symbols. The fractured line between trauma and reality. The novel intricately examines how trauma affects memory, perception, and trust. Through the protagonist's experiences, grief, gaslighting, and sleep paralysis, Sierra probes the blurry line between imagined fear and real danger. Patriarchal silencing and women's agency. From her dismissive husband to a skeptical police force, the protagonist's fears are repeatedly invalidated. Nightwatching underscores the societal tendency to disbelieve women, especially when they speak hard truths about abuse and danger. Maternal instinct versus vulnerability. The protagonist embodies both the fragility and ferocity of motherhood. Her journey from perceived instability to decisive protector challenges traditional notions of female strength and survival. The house as a metaphor. The creaky, labyrinthine home symbolizes unresolved grief and psychological entrapment. It transforms from a refuge to a prison, reflecting the protagonist's isolation, before finally offering sanctuary through its hidden spaces. The manifestation of fear. The intruder, the corner, is both real and symbolic. He embodies the lingering dread, mistrust, and unresolved trauma haunting the protagonist. His hidden presence mirrors the internal fears many women are forced to suppress. Character exploration. The protagonist, unnamed mother, the emotional core of Nightwatching, is its unnamed protagonist, a woman shaped by trauma, grief, and an unwavering instinct to protect. Her evolution is stark, from a subdued caregiver and grieving widow to a fierce, action-driven protector. Her hypervigilance, once dismissed by her husband and society as oversensitivity, becomes her greatest asset in the face of real danger. Through her eyes, readers experience the crushing weight of not being believed, the gaslighting by authority figures, and the loneliness of motherhood in crisis. Her struggle mirrors that of countless women whose trauma is overshadowed by skepticism. By the end of the novel, she emerges empowered, vindicated, and deeply changed, yet still vulnerable, still healing. The husband. Though he dies early in the narrative, the husband's presence is felt throughout the novel. His role is complex. He is a loving partner in some respects, but also a product of a patriarchal mindset that questions and minimizes his wife's concerns. His decision to question her motives after the slap from his father and his failure to take her warnings about the cafe manager seriously contribute to the unfolding horror. His absence later becomes a critical void, one that underscores how little support the protagonist has from those closest to her. The father-in-law. The father-in-law is a menacing, patriarchal figure who embodies emotional abuse and victim blaming. His physical assault, cruel insinuations, and willingness to undermine the protagonist at every turn amplify her isolation. Even after her husband's death, he continues to wield power by poisoning her reputation and gaining custody of her children. He represents the societal structures that invalidate women's experiences, particularly when they challenge authority or patriarchal norms. The intruder, the corner. A chilling antagonist, the corner is both a literal predator and a symbolic figure, the manifestation of suppressed fear, unspoken trauma, and the ever-present threat to women's safety. His silence, his slow encroachment into the family's life, and his nursery rhyme taunts create a palpable terror. But perhaps most disturbing is his invisibility to those in power, paralleling how predators often move undetected due to systemic blind spots. His ability to hide in the walls, unseen, unheard, and disbelieved, mirrors the way abuse and violence can remain hidden behind domestic facades. The children, especially the daughter, serve as emotional anchors in the narrative. Innocent yet perceptive, they sense danger before adults do. The daughter's naming of the corner man provides both foreshadowing and insight. Children see what adults refuse to acknowledge. They symbolize innocence at risk, and their presence drives the protagonist to transform from reactive to proactive. Their belief in their mother, even when others don't, is the emotional fuel that keeps her fighting. The police sergeant. The sergeant stands in for institutional skepticism. He questions the protagonist's mental health, cross-examines her timeline, and ultimately delays justice. His character reflects how systems often fail victims of trauma, especially women, by prioritizing facts over lived experience. His eventual death at the hands of the corner is a grim reminder of the consequences of disbelief. The younger officer. A subtle but important foil to the sergeant, the younger officer is open to re-evaluating the facts. His investigation leads to the crucial discovery of the intruder's hiding place and the source of the alcohol in the protagonist's system. His character reflects a shift in mindset, a willingness to believe, to listen, and to validate. In a story about disbelief, his role is a breath of cautious hope. The neighbors. Well-intentioned but inadvertently harmful, the neighbors provide comfort but also contribute to the protagonist's downfall. Their whiskey-spiked tea is a key detail used to discredit her. They symbolize the unintended consequences of casual actions in a world where every detail is scrutinized, especially when women's stories are at stake. Why you should read Nightwatching. If you're a fan of suspenseful, psychologically complex stories that dive deep into the human psyche, Nightwatching is a must-read. Tracy Sierra's debut is a haunting blend of horror, domestic drama, and social commentary. It will keep you turning the pages while challenging your assumptions about fear, motherhood, and truth. With a fresh take on the haunted house trope and an emotionally resonant protagonist, Nightwatching delivers both thrills and substance. With an Amazon rating of 4.1, a Goodreads score of 3.8, and 4.2 stars on Barnes & Noble, Nightwatching has earned strong praise from thriller fans for its compelling protagonist and emotionally resonant themes. Could the monster in the corner be more than just a man? What would you do if no one believed your story, except the person hiding in your walls? Find out by picking up your copy of Nightwatching. The link is in the description. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Fiction First for more deep dive reviews into today's most gripping fiction. Until next time, happy reading.